Reese, you're right. You're talking about their tight end, Ben Moa, a guy who is an NFL prospect, even though he's not really a prototype, but 6'2" tall. He's also a husband and a father and a guy who wants to someday devote his career to helping youth, which is a complete turnaround from a youth that began really here in Southern California, featured gunshot wounds, frequent fingerprinting. Chris Conley and the literal identity change of Moa along his incredible career journey.
The name is from the South Pacific nation of Tonga, Moa. And for this Utah star, it's a surname that honors his beloved grandfather. But 22-year-old Ben Moa has had that name only since 2002. It took the first 21 years of his life to earn it. At the age of 9, the man-child then known as Ben Allison was stealing cars. As a preteen in Salt Lake City, Ben says he joined some of his cousins in a gang, the Tongan Crips.
What kind of stuff would you guys get into?
Mainly just drinking, selling drugs, and fighting, and occasionally getting shot at and shooting people.
How old were you when you used to hang out?
12.
One night during that time, Ben stole a car, shot a rival gang member in the groin, then led police on a high-speed freeway chase before being captured. Ben would spend 3 years of his life at Mill Creek Youth Center, Utah's last chance for youthful offenders. Released at 16, Ben was taken in by Mace Tua Tagloa, an ex-counselor from Mill Creek. Mace and his family gave Ben love and structure. Ben's all-state football skills gave him a full ride to the University of Utah.
He could have played in the secondary, could have played linebacker, could have played tight end. I mean, he had a lot of flexibility because he was a nasty kid to boot. So he had the what you call a football personality.
Ben was a tight end at Utah, where in January of 2000 he met a student named Christina Nuno. By July, they were married, even though Christina didn't believe Ben's tales of gang life.
I was like, okay, yeah, whatever. You're in a gang.
When did you realize that it was really true and it was a huge part of his upbringing?
After we got married and he got shot.
It was a late Friday night in August 2000 at a family wedding just outside Salt Lake City. Ben was with Christina when he heard there was a showdown brewing with a rival gang in the reception hall's parking lot.
Right before I was about to go out to go see what happened, she grabbed me and she was like, "Let's go home." And I was like, "Nah."
I remember crying to him, telling him to leave with me, and him just looking at me like I was a piece of glass and to say no.
It was kind of like my wife or my cousins. And I just said, "Just go home, Christina."
In this parking lot, there was a confrontation, a scuffle, then gunshots.
Police found one man shot in the leg, another shot in the chest. The latter turned out to be 19-year-old Ben Allison, a first-year tight end on the U of U football team.
The first one hit me right here, right in my chest, and it hit my lung and collapsed it.
Did you think you were going to die?
I thought I was for a minute.
Ben was airlifted to a hospital in Salt Lake. His mother and his wife hurried to his bedside.
Me and his mom were telling him how much we loved him and, that we were going to be by his side. But he looked like he was dead.
5 days after being shot, a heavily bandaged Ben was back on the field. His lungs filled with blood after practice, and he was rushed back to the hospital for another 2 weeks. Utah redshirted him. Then, in November, while in the Utes locker room, Ben stole $200 out of a teammate's wallet. He was kicked off the team.
He came home and he told me, and that was the very first time I saw him really cry. He was crying. He's probably going to hate me for saying that, but he was crying because something that he loved, football, was taken away from him.
That's when I went back and started kicking it with my cousins again.
He was going to go pay, the money back or whatever, and he never came back. And then I left him. I wasn't going to wait around for him.
Pregnant with the couple's first child, Christina moved back to Modesto, California to be with her parents and waited to see what choice Ben would make this time.
something in his head must have clicked that if he doesn't, change his life or something, he's gonna end up in prison or end up dead.
Then I had to make a decision again, whether I wanted to be a G or if I wanted to be a Moa and my son. And I picked my son and my wife.
Well, I see right there.
In less than 2 years in Modesto, Ben did change. He became a father, grew closer to his wife, began going to church, all while starring for the local junior college football team. So when the Utah coaches asked him back, Ben saw a chance for redemption.
I had to make it right. I couldn't just leave and everybody would think, oh man, that kid was horrible, man. He stole and got shot and gangster and all this stuff.
And to make his chance for redemption complete, Ben decided to make one more change. He dropped his biological father's name, Allison, and took his grandfather's name, Moa.
His grandfather was a big influence on his life when he was a young boy. And taking his grandfather's name, he knew that was going to make his grandfather, so proud of him.
I needed to take his name and make it big.
And so Ben Moa has, becoming a major part of the Utes' 9-2 season under their new coach Urban Meyer, and the key figure in November's triple overtime win over Air Force.
4th down, 1 yard to go for the Utes.
Our offensive line coach wanted to run a sneak. Our coordinator said a sneak was too far away, and I wanted to run a little pop pass. And Ben Moa looks at me.
I grabbed his arm and I was like, Coach, I'll put that on my son. I'll put it on my life. I'll put it on everything. I believe I'll make it. I'll make it in the end zone. I'll get in. Just give me the ball.
I said, no, on your life. And he said yes, and the offensive line got behind him. And so we called that play because of Ben Moa.
Moa gets a high snap from center, and Moa dives in for the touchdown.
And that set up the 2-point play perfect.
Moa asks for the ball. He's got it. Moa fakes. He lobs it into the end zone. It's good. You knew it was coming.
What a call and what an end to this football game.
It took most of his 22 years, but Ben Moa found the strength to change everything about his life and become a man to whom his grandfather would be proud to pass on the family name.
It felt good, man. It felt like I finally brought a little bit of honor to my grandpa's name, because all the newspaper writings were saying like one Moa win and one Moa time. I'm sure my grandpa seen that and smiled.